If he thinks he's got a political career to prop up, he can forget it. This is the top job he's ever going to have.
Well, you're right.
The ministerial shuffle, well, it's far too late for Albanese. In the end, the only person on that entire cabinet I think they could shuffle and the public might respond positively would be Albanese himself, really. So he's the problem in that government, and he can do as many reshuffles as he likes between now and the election, but it's not going to improve his chances.
Yes, he does have a lot of problems, and I would argue Chris Bowen is one of them.
Because he made things up as he went. I mean, this is a rolling farce. It's actually just a scam.
You wrote a column for The Australian about Chris Bowen's green hydrogen dream collapsing all around him.
At many hundreds of $billions worth of cost, and he can't answer basic questions. What detail is put out there is wrong.
Especially after Andrew Forrest told his Fortescue investors he was all but abandoning this dream. How much money has been squandered, Nick, in pursuit of this fantasy, and how much of it has been our money, taxpayer money, while we sit back and ignore proven technology, nuclear technology, that could provide us with clean energy?
It's because it doesn't stack up. Australia would be crazy to go down. It would be a massive act of economic self-harm to go down the path of renewable resources. It's actually just a scam. And as I said, there's too much of it allowed and perpetrated in Parliament House, in my very strong view.
How much money has been squandered, Nick, in pursuit of this fantasy, and how much of it has been our money, taxpayer money?
Billions, Rita, and the government was ready to put in billions or more. In fact, it still is willing to put in billions more. They had this thing called the Hydrogen Head Start programme. It didn't actually give it much of a start. There was $2 billion originally, and I think they put that up in the most recent budget.
It's just plain wrong.
But Andrew Forrest, I mean, he was a man who said, less than 3 years ago, he stood before the National Press Club and said this was the miracle molecule. This was going to make us the superpower, the energy superpower of the 21st century. And on he went. He was going to produce 15 million tonnes of the stuff, and none of it's been produced in commercial quantities at all so far.
I mean, it is absolute chalk and cheese. It would be a massive own goal for Australia to walk away from that.
And then, of course, he hit the real snag, which is the cost of renewable energy, which, wait for it, is not as cheap as Chris Bowen says. And Andrew Forrest could tell him that because he's tried to get some contracts to make his green hydrogen and hasn't been able to get them at the price he wanted.
Well, I know exactly what he said. He said that
he's depriving a village somewhere of their idiot.
And yet we've got Chris Bowen, you would think has got some fairly big issues to deal with. He's not only committed to his net zero pipe dream, but he's spending time
painting rocks white. That is his level of experience.
On X, tweeting like some sort of a teenage activist who's just attended their first Socialist Alliance meeting. He's calling his political opponents things like cookers and conspiracy theorists. What do you make of his conduct? I mean, he's supposed to be a senior minister in charge of key portfolios, and he's carrying on like this.
It's stupid. And he is taking the Australians for a ride with this type of madness. The sooner we get rid of this Labor government, the better.
The Australian energy market operator says that the whole system is badly in need of propping up, that, the more coal we're losing out of the system, the more unstable it gets. He's got to do something to replace that. It's a very, very difficult job, by the way. I mean, it's one of the most difficult jobs in government. So how he's got time to go on Twitter, or why he bothers? I mean, who's listening?
Conspiracy theory rabbit hole develops from climate change to anti-vaxxing to foreign affairs quite easily.
I think this bloke's completely out of his depth, and I don't accept a word he says because I don't think he has any idea what he's on about, to be honest.
Well, let's watch power prices and see what happens.
Energy prices were 23% higher on average in the June quarter this year compared to 2023.
We are a lucky country, rich in the resources that can fuel a renewable energy system.
Lower wind speeds causing a drop in wind power, less rain saw a drop in hydro output, with gas and coal filling the void.
That if the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining, that a renewables-only approach simply is
a rolling farce. It's actually just a scam, in my very strong view.
But I mean, is it actually persuading anybody? And I noticed in that poll the Australian did of who people saw as the next leader of the Labor Party, I think his figures were sort of statistically insignificant. I don't think you could see them under an electron microscope. So if he thinks he's got a political career to prop up, he can forget it. This is the top job he's ever going to have.
And should be very conscious of the fact that Australians are united on this issue.
I've heard Casanova Bowen multiple times on radio. Now you're on my show. What the hell does it mean?
Well, it means quite literally and figuratively, there was a bloke many, many moons ago called Casanova, and everything he touched, he and at the moment, that's exactly what this bloke's done in every channel he's been involved in. Immigration, all the boats came in. Now energy's over there in the United Emirates, where they're all saying, look, we need nuclear. Macron said we need nuclear. There are 19 others saying we need nuclear. The USA says it. All of Europe's saying it. So what does Casanova do? He gets over there and says, no, it's wind, it's solar, it's renewables. He's out there on his own. The bloke's a complete moron. He's got 48 bureaucrats with him. 48. Imagine the carbon footprint for all of those people. He didn't know the answer to any number of questions. He's not across these portfolios. He knows bugger all about home affairs. He knows less about immigration and certainly not much about the environment. So he lets these cowboys run riot and do whatever they like. And as a result, I mean, you've got the lunatics running the asylum. You need a Prime Minister to take control of his ministry.